Alone at the edge of a universe, humming a tune, for merely dreaming we were snow. A siren sounds like the goddess who promises endless apologies of paradise. And only she can make it right. So things are different tonight. Go together in flight.
Hey, I was looking for an artist to write about, and I think I found my guy. He's a one-man army that's created a lot of cool stuff, and no one's heard of him. So, let's see what he's got. Kyou System, or just Kyou, is an ambitious person. His website, this being the welcome page, is an archive of his artistic works. Here, it's got sketches, poems, journal entries, short stories, a game, a demo, a visual novel, original soundtracks, music albums, a mini podcast, a YouTube channel, and media recommendations like manga, movies, music, and more. You can parse through it yourself, the link's in the description, but I'll mostly be talking about his drawings and his games, while occasionally using his background music he himself made. I'll be honest, despite the large portfolio, I think, at a glance, it'd be easy to dismiss some of his works as amateur, or compared to that of teenage angst, which is, yeah, fair enough. It's not the most technical or colorful, and kinda gives an edgy vibe, but today, I'll be making the case as to what makes Kyou such an interesting character, and why you should check out his stuff. The various sketches Kyou has mostly fall under the umbrella of 4 categories: glitchy collages, venting pieces, monsters, and goth girls. Nice. Glitch art, which are art pieces that look like they're being digitally corrupted or distorted for aesthetic purposes, is one of Kyou's go-to styles when it comes to wanting to capture chaos. And holy crap, does it work. While I did say that most of his works lack color, these may be one of the more colorful ones, albeit a messy explosion of it. These are pretty intense to say the least, especially since there's strewn text all over the background. Now, I'm sure that's the point, and I can dig that. In his short visual novel, the backgrounds are laid out with this style, and it works for the tone that he's going for quite well. Next are the venting pieces, which are pretty unnerving. When I look at these, I can practically feel the pen digging into the screen like a knife into some of these. I don't know the full scope of Kyou's mental well-being, but his ability to capture the negativity in visual form feels pointed and accurate. Speaking of pointed and accurate, something you're going to learn about Kyou is that he has a lot to say, both about the world around him and the things he does. His ability to accurately articulate said things is impressive as well. For example, on the subject of making art, Kyou writes, "I feel like if I wanted to express anything I was feeling in any way, I had to do it in a way that'd be nice, so I could show it off to others. Even with like vent art, it feels like I still had to make it nice vent art, or do it so it fits some certain aesthetic, so I could post it on ABC or submit it to XYZ, and then have it be appreciated or useful or something. Naturally, this is a huge barrier to any meaningful creative expression, and is likely in no small part why I feel like I've been in such a creative rut lately." Firstly, damn. Good on him to self-reflect enough to make the observation at all, but damn. Secondly, Kyou is absolutely right on the money. He's essentially saying that posting art online caters to an expectation from viewers. They expect you to continually make similar works as the ones they've seen already. To deviate away from that expectation would mean betraying what the audience came for in the first place. It's like if I grew a fan base making penis music, and then suddenly I started making classical music. My fans would be like, "What the hell, man? Go back to the penis music." Is this a bad example? Regardless, it comes down to the creator to be honest with themselves about their art. Is it for themselves, or for their audience, or some 90-10 split for both? Good things with which to reconcile. Anyways, that covers his vent art. So how do his monsters look? Well, surprisingly, they're a little friendlier. Spindly, insect-like with an enormous massive eye. You know, nightmare creatures of the dark void. I don't know, is it weird I actually think they're kinda cute? While I myself have drawn a handful of monsters in my day, the coolest part to me about these drawings is how Kyou put these designs to use. In his RPG Maker game, Remembrance, the main antagonists are these spider creatures that prey on others. The ways that they stretch and contort with their varying shapes is good stuff. This is probably a strange thing to say, but I'm quite envious of people that actually do things with their original designs and put them in projects with grand stories and such. It's really ambitious, and to pull it off in any completed form is awesome. Speaking of awesome, goth girls. I respect a man that knows his preference, and boy does he draw a lot of them. There's not too much to say on this subject, but good on ya. If I could draw halfway decently, I'd probably do the same. One of his original designs includes this character named Charlotte. Charlotte is always wearing a smug, shit-eating grin, and I have a feeling that she's Kyou's favorite character, especially considering how many drawings there are of her. Charlotte plays an important role in the demo for Kyou's second game, and she left one hell of an impression on me. Goth girls seem to have that effect. But yeah, that mostly wraps up Kyou's drawings, at least from what I was able to find online. There's a few other miscellaneous things, but I think you've got the idea. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this video. I want to talk about Kyou's games. Going into these games was weirdly exciting, especially considering not many people have played it. In a way, it felt like I was going into uncharted territory. The games all take place in the same universe with overlapping characters, and can more or less be played in a single sitting. So, the first one we're tackling is called Remembrance. Remembrance follows the story of Kimberly, a woman that wakes up with amnesia in a strange place. She meets a lady named Jessie, a sort of guide for Kim on her journey as the Chosen One, a title bestowed by the supreme deities. Her sole duty is to restore the world back to normal, since creatures called enemies of hope, or crawlers, have infested their lands. Together, Kim and Jessie travel to the 3 Towers of Remembrance to reignite the beacons of hope at the top, to ward off the crawlers and to restore her lost memories. On their adventure, the group meets and teams up with Rook, a polite and mysterious stranger, and Ashley, a loud and unpredictable fighter. As the story unfolds, the world she's trying to save seems more and more hopeless, while her view of the powers above seem less and less trustworthy. Goddamn. If that doesn't sound cool, I don't know what is. The baseline story has so much potential, and from a writer's perspective, there's a lot here to play with. The gameplay in Remembrance involves some turn-based combat, some exploring, and some puzzles with, oh my god, why are there so many mazes? I've been in here for like an hour. Something standout about this game, along with its sequel, is the massive amount of dialogue. It's mostly lore and world building, but some of it is just long conversations. Huh, a character just teleported? Let's talk about that teleportation. A character's about to enter a room? Let's discuss everything they're thinking before walking through. A character is recovering after passing out. Let's have them intimately talk about their personal struggles and wishes in a house with 2 totally straight characters. They're gay, by the way. Or at least Kim is. I don't know what Jessie is. There is so much text. If you're super into Kyou's world, you're eating good, but honestly and unfortunately, I could totally see some people spam clicking to just skip the dialogue. I admit, at times I definitely had the temptation. Similarly frustrating is parsing through the many mazes, which are not fun to get lost in. If anything makes you question whether this is worth your time, it might be these sections. It'd be easier to just close the window and do something productive like watching anime, scrolling on Twitter, or losing at other games. In other words, there are things about Remembrance that kind of make it hard to recommend unless you're hard committed to playing it like I was for this video. Hearing that, you'd probably think that I think this is a bad game. And to that, you'd be partially right. As a game, it's not the most fun, yet despite that, I really enjoyed playing it. Okay, what do I mean? Well, in case it wasn't apparent, Kyou's art is extremely personal. And it's not just some of it, it's all of it. The reason why his works feel tonally similar with their generally darker tone and retrospective vibe is because the pool of creative ideas he's drawing from comes from his lived experiences and feelings. Kyou himself basically said as much when I was emailing him, and he said, "Without a doubt, my lived experiences very heavily drive my fictional works. So much so that to go through my games, art, and other works attentively is to peer into my soul. Even my creations that don't have character arcs and narratives associated with them, like my music or my collage art, are personal, often intensely so. To be honest, I doubt I'd be able to make any kind of art if I didn't let any parts of myself bleed into it, you know?" Yeah. That basically gave me everything I needed to reflect on Remembrance, and reflect I did. In the game, there's these overarching themes like the search for purpose and truth, the call to adventure, losing oneself, the warmth of friends, holding on to hope, repressing inner pains, and of course, the confrontation with God and authority. If we look at these things from the perspective of Kyou instead of Kim, what I see is someone creatively expressing ideas he's personally wrestling with. And all of this manifests through the winding mazes, the drawn-out dialogues, and the combat with the monsters. I mean, for God's sake, the debuffs in this game are called depression, anxiety, and jaundice. What the hell is a jaundice?
Jaundice, a state or attitude characterized by satiety, distaste, or hostility.
Huh. The more you know. Kim's journey to self-actualization and coming to terms with who she was, now is, and wants to be is Kyou's journey. Or at least that's my guess. To me, seeing someone bear themselves that vulnerably in the form of a dark but personal game is overwhelmingly awesome to me. This game isn't meant for you and me. It's for, and always has been, for Kyou. He's also told me as much, saying, "For as much as I love and appreciate my followers, it's ultimately irrelevant to me whether I have 1 million of them or only one. I have absolutely no intention whatsoever of changing the large-scale direction, subject, or intentions of my art beyond what I feel compelled to explore and create. Generally speaking, I have no intention of pleasing anyone with my art besides me." And you know what? I respect the hell out of that. Earlier, I had talked about Kyou's vent art and how he was struggling with keeping a certain aesthetic when all he wanted to do was make what he wanted, and that struggle led him to feel creatively stuck. That journal entry was from March 26th, 2022, titled Anguish. And now, based on the email he recently sent me, I'd like to think that he came to terms with his answer. Kyou will create for him and only him. This finally leads me to his biggest, latest project. It's still majorly a work in progress thing, but I'll talk about my short experience of playing the demo. The sequel to Remembrance is called Permanence. Permanence follows Rook, the mysterious stranger and goodest boy that was aided by Kim after he'd gotten lost. Rook, having been left behind in Remembrance, finds himself lost once again. He then meets Charlotte, a ghostly but not actually a ghost character looking for interesting things. Having finally found someone interesting, Charlotte follows Rook as he embarks on his search for Kim. And that basically summarizes it. The premise is much simpler, which is to be expected for a demo. What wasn't expected was the perspective change in the game, which is clearly the biggest visual change from Remembrance. It kinda reminds me of the Mega Man Battle Network series, and I dig it. The gameplay itself is mostly similar to the first game, except there's no combat as of this demo. Apparently that's coming, and with animation synced up with the music, Jesus Christ, Kyou is cooking. The demo itself has linear exploration, talking, and you guessed it, mazes. Unironically, there were so many times where I felt like I was ready to call it quits. For some reason, in the demo I was playing, I wasn't able to save my file, so I had to play it in a single sitting, even if I was frustrated. I don't know how long I was wandering in this one maze, but Jesus Christ. There's even a puzzle after it that I struggled with. I swear, this section was the ultimate IQ test, and I think I failed. There's a good chance I might have just turned off the computer during these puzzles and touched grass instead. Except I didn't, because something kept me going. Yep, I stayed for the goth girl. Throughout your adventure, Charlotte invisibly tags behind Rook, and as you examine various things in the world, she usually chimes in with little comments of her own. Her teasing, playful personality is a nice foil to Rook's earnest, straight man archetype. That's good stuff, but the ultimate banger is this specific moment. Charlotte is about to leave Rook and says, "Since you know my name and have an impression associated with me, I'll hear you if you call out to me, so just let me know if you need anything. Plus, I'm always free to chat. I'd love to hear from you, so don't be shy." And then she vanishes. Seems innocent enough, if not a little sussy. Except, it's way more sus than you could have ever imagined, because usually, when she's talking, she's looking to the left towards Rook, but when she says this line, if you zoom in real close to her eyes, she's looking directly at the screen. She is addressing us, the player.
Holy moly.
If you hit escape and pull up the main menu, there's an option to chat. When you select it, you're brought into an enclosed space with just you and Charlotte. Nice. And thus, the coolest and most unique part of this game opens. The conversations with Charlotte don't pertain to the world of permanence at all. Instead, these talks are about the real world and general observations or thoughts on random things. I think it's here that Kyou really set up the grounds to flex his creative muscles. I highly recommend you experience these talks yourself, since I can't capture the strangely cozy feel these have. It's like talking to an old friend about passing ideas that you've both had, and you both try to figure out what it means. I don't really want to talk about one specific conversation, but I've got to summarize at least one of them, so here goes. After greeting us, Charlotte states that she wants to talk about intrusive thoughts. She clarifies that she's not talking about the thoughts that people have occasionally about doing things that they don't actually want to do, but rather repressed memories that forcibly resurface. Charlotte then goes into the repressed memories that have recently resurfaced for her personally. She talks about how she had little guidance growing up, and that led to her acting unintentionally inconsiderate or strange or annoying. Other kids that were bothered by that side of her said some awful things to her, and that stuck with Charlotte. She never forgot that hurt. But then Charlotte turns it around. She wonders if the people that snapped at her have their own intrusive thoughts. Will they share the same tinge of shame she felt when this memory resurfaces? Or will they forget about it all, content that what they did was fully deserved? She wraps it up by saying it's more constructive to just let these thoughts fully resurface, being sure to feel it and understand it before letting it go. And then the talk ends. I love that a lot. It's this strange, short moment in a video game that is intimate and introspective. It sees both sides of a human interaction and doesn't outright demonize an aggressor, despite how seemingly straightforward the event was. This talk better characterizes Charlotte as a person while giving her this air of sad thoughtfulness. Of all the places, I wasn't expecting to feel something like that here. And of course, just to give you a reminder, all of this walks on the tightrope that is Kyou's art. Similarly, like with Kim in Remembrance, these are likely Kyou's personal thoughts and experiences. There's this touch of realism in the game that grounds it, despite taking place in a labyrinthian void, and I love it for that. I know it's all speculation and interpretation on my part, but isn't that what art's all about? What it means to us, the individuals, what we make of it? And even if I'm wrong, for a story like this to make me wonder so much is a compliment to Kyou's writing. Kyou System is one of the coolest artists I've come across. His art is deeply personal, and watching him creatively wrestle with ideas and experiences in the form of drawings, music, and games is an absolute delight. The last thing I'll touch on before I go is one more set of art pieces I haven't talked about yet. As you probably can tell, Kyou likely suffers from a lot of mental ailments that make his day-to-day harder to go through, and I, of course, wish him the best. But what gives me hope that he'll be fine and that he'll keep going despite those hardships is this set of paintings. These are completely different than anything he's made before. It's peaceful and natural, colorful and warm. I don't know what compelled him to make these, but if Kyou's art is a reflection of his soul, then I'd like to think that his subconscious is telling him, amidst the chaos of creative ideas and heavy emotions swirling in his head, is a space for beautiful and solemn quiet. Anyways, that's all I've got. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.